Hello, it's Senior Runner here, and following on from my top 10 tips, which you can see in my videos for beginners, I decided that it would be nice to reduce that a little bit. A lot of beginners are thinking, well, it's okay, John, you're giving me all these different tips, but 10 of them, let me get over one or two of them, then I'll think about the others. But which ones do I do? So I thought I'll give you the top three. And the first one has a double edge to it because it's giving yourself a target. Now, if you give yourself a target, it means that when you're sat in the house and you put all your running gear on and you think, oh, don't I look good? And it starts raining outside. If you don't have a target, you tend to just, forget that. I'm just going to sit here. Let's put my normal clothes back on, and you won't go. The other thing is, if you don't have a target and you do go out there, you'll probably just do that same old 80% of your effort and carry on doing the same pace day in, day out. You're not really achieving anything because you get to that point where you usually do 2 miles or 3 miles and that's it, right? Okay, back home again. And that's it. You don't actually ever get to push yourself a little bit more because, hey, we've got a target of doing 10 miles. What can that target be? It can be, like, my wife died of a brain tumour last April, and it could be to raise a certain amount of money for whatever charity it is concerning someone. It could be that you want to do a race. Those two may be combined. You're doing a race to raise money and you want to do it in under 2 hours. So you're going to try and do that half marathon, for instance, in 2 hours. So you've got a target. Now, it can be a time target. I want to do that race in 2 hours, which is about 9 minutes per mile. It can be that you want to be able to run a reasonable distance in a certain pace. So yeah, I would like to do 2 or 3 miles, and I'd like to be able to do those in about 9 minutes per mile if I could. Remember, we're talking beginners. So you've got a pace perhaps that you want to try and be able to achieve over a reasonable distance. You can give that a target, but you don't have to. As long as you've got a target to achieve, whether it be a distance, a race, you might just want to finish the race, in which case that's fine. You just need to be able to complete 13.1 miles for the half marathon, for instance. As long as you've got a goal, it gives you the confidence and the drive and the enthusiasm to get out there and actually do something. And it also means that when you get out there, especially if you're trying to do a certain pace, you're trying to push yourself so that you can actually do it, and you get that enthusiasm and drive to try and improve that little bit more, and it gives you that drive and enthusiasm to get out there and try and improve. But also the double edge is that when you start improving, so that's the goal I tried to aim, and I tried to do 10 miles at the beginning of my restarting running years ago. I had a goal to run 10 miles without stopping, but I was stopping 2 or 3, probably 3 or 4 times at the beginning. So I couldn't run that full 10 miles, and I'm getting closer and closer to running the full 10 miles. And as I'm getting closer to that distance in my case, or if you're doing a pace, as you're getting closer to that pace, you start getting the enthusiasm and the drive and the excitement from getting closer to my goal. And it's a double-edged sword. Now, going to the second part, and the second part is sort of part of that, is the 80-20 rule. I met a doctor in Dawlish Warren, and he said, this really is bugbear. So why do, especially beginners, why do they not know about and follow the idea of 80-20 rule? Because the 80-20 rule allows you to run longer distances. Now, there's 2 ways of doing this. We'll forget the second one. The second one is heart rate zone 2, and you'd really have to have some form of like a watch or some sort of heart rate monitoring system to be able to know what your heart rate is, what your maximum heart rate is, certainly a maximum, so that you during a race, so that you can actually run, so that you can actually work out where your heart rate zone 2 is. Beginners, you tend not to have this. You can go out for something like the Garmin 45, is it, and which will give you the basics, and yeah, that will help you know what your heart rate is. And then you could look up on the internet what heart rate zone 2 running is. But there's a nice simple way that a lot of programs like the Nike Run Club and the Garmin Connect app do. Instead of that, is that they say, look, if you're for instance, if you're trying to do that race in the future, that's your target is to do the half marathon in 9 minutes per mile, 2 hours. Then what they'll do is they say you need to run 80% of your time at 1 to 2 minutes slower. So Garmin app says 1 to 2 minutes slower. So it says, right, instead of 9, I want you to run between 10 and 11 minutes per mile. And that then becomes 80% of your running, 1 or 2 minutes slower than what you're trying to achieve. Or if your running is naturally around sort of 9 minutes per mile, and that's your standard for your training runs, again, you add a minute on, 2 minutes on, and somewhere in that gap you should be keeping your 80% of your running. Nike Run Club does it differently, and there will be some people out there saying it's not 1 to 2, it's 1 to 3. Nike Run Club say 1 to 3, and they actually put me on when I'm saying my normal run for that last half marathon was 9 minutes. They tried to put me on 11 to 12 minutes. So 2 to 3 minutes slower. So there are some people that say for a little bit, even a minute slower. And if you actually start your first training with the Garmin Connect, I know my trainer on there, obviously it's a recording, says there are people who do 1 to 3 minutes, but I don't see the point, because once you get above 11 minutes per mile or slower than 11 minutes per mile, you're realistically just doing a fast walk and you're not gaining the same benefits. So we do 80% at a nice slow rate. Let's just say it is 1 minute to 2 minutes slower than you're trying to achieve, or your normal jogging or normal running pace when you go out there without thinking about it. Now that will give you a benefit. What sort of benefit will it give you? It means you can run further because you're running slower. And because you run further, your body gets used to running those distances, and it gives you a lot more ability to run longer. No, it's not making you run faster, but it's making you run longer. And then when you get to those distances that you're really trying to achieve, for instance the half marathon, you then try and speed it up. And speed comes from other bits of the training which we're not going to cover, but we're trying to get that beginner in you to look, we can run 10, 11, 12 miles if we want to. All we have to do is lower that speed, and we look what distances we can do, and get our bodies used to running those distances. So certainly if we're trying to do longer distances, an 80-20 rule is quite essential. I say that's connected to the first one because if you're trying to do something like a half marathon, then you'll need to get that target, you need to be able to do those longer distances. And as a beginner, you're probably, the people who are going out there for the first time today, you probably manage a mile, 2 miles running at the most. And I've seen it, and the thought of doing 13 is way insane. But people tend to plug really hard. I need to be able to do 13. I really got to try and keep going. But you're trying 80-90% of your effort, and you're only going to do the 1 or 2 miles. You're not going to go further. But you can if you do 80% of your running a minute or 2 slower. So do make sure that you try it. It is essential. Now going on to 3 is when we obviously try and get you to do some sort of target. Now, if it's a race, or even if it's you're going out and you're thinking, right, okay, this is my long run day, I need to warm up. I'm told to warm up. First of all, yes, you should be doing warm-ups, and you should be doing cool downs, because it stops you from getting injuries, or reduces the risk of you getting injuries before somebody starts disliking it. During the warm-up, guys, I saw somebody doing press-ups this year, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? That's just the wrong thing to be doing. Strength exercises are strength exercises. You don't get any benefit a minute afterwards, because the race started in 10 minutes time. He's doing his press-ups. Any strength training is not going to benefit you 10 minutes later. Yeah, because if you do gym work and you're doing strength training to tone up certain muscles, because you need your thighs toning up, your calves toning up, your arms, so that you can do the arm swing properly. See my video, and you train those muscles. Fine, that's great. Toning up muscles that you're going to use when you're running is absolutely essential. It's one of my tips, top 10 tips. But to do strength training directly before a run, that 10-mile run, or before that race, all you're going to do, well, what do you get when you go to the gym and you've done half an hour, an hour's worth of really solid gym work? You feel tired, you want to have a shower, a bath, you just want to soak and relax. You certainly don't feel like doing a half marathon or a marathon. You've just tired those muscles out, overworked them directly before you're going to start hammering them around a race course. Half marathon, full marathon, 5K. Whatever it is, you've just tired them out before. So don't do silly things like trying to do strength training before a race, or a long training run, 10 mile, for instance. Not a good idea. Also, and this is one that I know people are going to hate me for saying, and I keep saying it, is, and I talked to the doctor on this, so this is one of the other things that he absolutely agreed with me. Stationary exercises. Doing stationary exercises before, and stationary stretches before you start that run or that race. A lot of people do warm-ups, and they're stood there, they're doing their touching toes and bending over and doing that long stretch and another long stretch, but their feet don't move. Now, there's an issue with this, is that during the race, your muscles, your bones, your cartilage, your tendons, all four, will move along with each other. They'll move against each other. They'll rub, they'll move, they'll stretch. Well, the bones won't, but they'll have certain cartilages and muscles moving against them. This is what you need to do to tell your body that this is coming very soon. If you're doing stationary exercises, what tends to happen is you're not doing it in the same way that you're going to be doing it in 10 minutes when the buzzer goes to start the race, or when you start doing your 10-mile training run. You're standing still. Your feet are stationary. What you should be doing is moving in a similar fashion. So lunges, for instance, people do lunges and they'll just do one lunge and then step back, one lunge, step back. That's part of the way there, but what I've seen a lot of trainers do now is they've taken away the lunge and they made it into a walking lunge. So you walk and you lunge. So you are moving as you would do in the race. You're just doing an exaggerated stride, lunge forward, step up, lunge forward, go forward, step up. So your warm-up should include some form of moving a distance. Stretching muscles while being stationary, it's going to get them ready for movement. It's not absolutely pointless, but it's certainly not getting you the maximum warm-up that you really need, or that you can get from adding some movement into it. So always try to do, when you look at people doing stationary exercise, fine, do that stationary exercise, but do it on the move. Yeah, so always try and do your warm-ups with a little bit of movement, so you're actually covering ground, so that your body's thinking, yeah, okay, that cartilage moves and that knee moves, and yeah, okay, I'm going to move forward and forward so that the muscle contracts and expands, the cartilage moves, the tendon moves, yeah, everything's moving as it will do in 10 minutes when you start running. That gives you so much more benefit because your body's starting to warm up properly, because it's expecting now the different tendons and muscles to be, and bone against muscle, to be moving against each other soon, and it gets used to it, and the muscles still do their stretching just as they would if you're stationary, but they're moving together more, and they're moving in conjunction with each other, as they will when you start running. And what I see quite a few times, not a lot, a few times, is people just do their stationary exercises, and then when they start running, a mile down the road, I think I saw it in the last half marathon in Gosport, they just seized up because they didn't do the right mix of warm-ups, and that muscle was pulled. Yes, you did stretch it, but you didn't stretch it in conjunction with the muscles around it. And now when it starts doing real work in conjunction with the other muscles, that your body found an issue. And going up that hill, that one little hill we had, somebody just stopped the first time he went up it, and it's a double run, it's a two circuit run, and you think, no, you didn't. If you did do your stretching, you just did stationary stretches. So it is important to do stretches on the move, because that can stop, it can reduce, I can't say stop, it can reduce the risk of you having an injury in those first sections, or that first section of the run, or the training run, or the race. So they're the first three things. Get a target, do the 80-20, and when you're trying to warm up, do give yourself some movement in that warm up. Try not to make it just stationary, and certainly, please don't start doing strength exercises, because you're just going to tire yourself out. Press ups before a half marathon, please. Your arms are that you're really tiring your arms out. For one, I don't know what you thought it was doing, but you're going to do 13.1 miles trying to pump those arms forward. You've just tired them out doing only about 20 minutes worth of press ups to prove he was really strong. But after 13 miles, those arms are going to start dropping, because they're going to be tired out. So please do think about these first three first, and hopefully that will get you to enjoy more, because I think that's one of the things that we said in the top 10 tips. Enjoy it, and the target gives you something to enjoy, and it gets you out there and enjoying running, and I've got to do it because I've got a target. It gets you out there and enjoying running because you're achieving your target. The 80-20 rule gets you enjoying it because, hey, I didn't think I could do these sort of distances. I'm doing slower, but hell, I've just done a 9-mile run, and I'm pretty tired, but hey, I couldn't have done this X months ago. And the warm-ups, they get you enjoying it because you start to achieve. This is the point where you start to achieve those goals, achieve those targets, and it stops you from it lowers the risk of you getting injured. I keep trying to say stop, I'll get slapped on the hand, won't I? It lowers the risk of you getting injured, and he said it again. And and that brings that excitement and enthusiasm that, hey, you know, people say I'm too old to be running, I'm a senior guy, I shouldn't be doing this, you're going to get injured. You know, you do realise you're going to get injured. You're going to get cold going out in the rain every week, every day, you know. So, and doing the warm-ups properly reduces that risk. So you actually feel better because you're when you're in that race or that run or that training run, you don't feel as tight at the beginning. You feel better, and because you feel better, you're enjoying it more. So all of those three give you the enthusiasm, give you the enjoyment. It's Senior Runner trying to give you the top 3 for beginners, the top 3 tips. Hopefully you can merge those in and then look at the top 10 tips video, because it was very well received. Thank you for the comments, thank you for the likes. Please do like and subscribe. I do need an awful lot more subscribers, and giving me the likes will start to push this video out and let more beginners see it. So do think about clicking the like, and do think about giving me a subscribe, and click the bell. Senior Runner, over and out.